Welcome to There's a Musical for That.
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 And if you like cellar dwellers
And trapdoor lovers.
there's a musical for that.
And if you like mermaids, crabs, and guppies, why? There's a musical for that.
If you like fan of the opera fan fiction, there's a musical for that.
If you like falling in love and broken hearts, and establishing your dreams and then having them dashed, and duels, there's a musical for that.
And it's called Wicked.
And it's called Little Mermaid Live.
It's called Hamilton.
And it's called Dogfight.
And it's called Fan of the Opera 2, Love Never Died.
Welcome to There's a Musical for That.
Welcome to There's a Musical for That, the podcast where we prove there's a musical for every situation. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Tiffany.
And if you like blood and plastic surgery and lots of knifing, people getting knifed, there's a musical for that. And it's called Repo, the Genetic Opera, 2008.
So it starts with a comic book type background, giving a background on the world that the characters are living in.
And apparently there's like all these organ failures, and so Roddy? I can't remember his
I think
name.
it's Roddy. It's R-O-T-T-I.
That's what I thought, but I think they kept saying Roti.
Roti.
I don't know Italian.
Say
So
Roddy.
Roddy Piper. That's what I
Yeah.
can think of. So he comes up with this company called Genco, where they make these replacement organs, and it does really well, and everybody's healthy again. And then they're like, hey, since we did really good at making the surgery cheap and affordable, everybody should just get surgeries. It's great. And people do it, and they get it financed, and if they default 90 days, their organs get repossessed. In the very beginning, it's showing like that Congress passed a bill. So we didn't vote very well
No.
as a people.
We
So
don't do a good job with things sometimes.
Aw. I wonder what the rest of the world is doing in this, when they always have these like post-apocalyptic movies and books. Have you ever seen those things like the Hunger Games, and people are like, I bet the rest of the world was just living normally, and America was like, let's kill children.
Yeah.
What happens after that? So you see Shiloh hanging out in her mom's tomb, eating a sandwich.
And who is Shiloh?
Shiloh is the bald Alexa Vega who wears a wig.
Yeah, Shiloh is the main character. She's a 17-year-old girl.
She has a blood disease.
Yes, she grew up confined in her home because she can't go outside or she'll die. She's not aware, but we quickly find out that her father is the Repo Man.
Shocking.
So when we say that organs are repossessed, they are repossessed by her father. That's what he does. Yeah, she thinks he's a doctor and he's helping and curing people, but instead he's taking the organs.
Yep, he's Dr. Chopper. Chopping people up.
Repo Man.
But there was that other Repo movie that came out during the same time. Do you remember that with Forrest Whitaker and
No.
the guy who did Lemony Snicket?
I do not recall.
It wasn't a musical, but it was the same thing. People having these organs, and they would have to go get them back out.
Then there is zero chance I'm ever going to watch that. The only reason I watch this one is because it's a musical.
It's good. I haven't watched the other one either. Anywho, so Shiloh's hanging out in her mom's crypt, being weird, eating a sandwich, and she sees a centipede bug, and she goes outside to catch it. And she's like, I shouldn't be outside, but I really want to catch this bug. And
For unknown reasons.
She's a weirdo. So she collects it, and then the police show up because there's also a grave robber there trying to grab bodies so he can steal Zydrate out of them to sell on the street.
Which is really snot from corpses.
I think he sticks it in their brains.
Oh.
That's my guess. But he wasn't sticking that needle very far up there, so
You're just
Maybe it is
sticking it in
snot.
their nose.
Maybe it is snot. Maybe that's where the soul comes out. You know, they said that on The Simpsons. Did you watch that episode?
When you sneeze, and that's why you have to say "bless you"
To
So
shove
you're
your soul
still-
back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's true. The Simpsons knew everything. So she sees the grave robber guy. And he's...
Because this is the source of truth.
The Simpsons, yeah, they predict a lot of stuff.
Well, and then the Repo Man confirmed it, so it must be true.
What? The snot? The soul?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you're basing your truth on, a series of fictional
Mm-hmm.
shows.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Repo Man was getting
Some snot souls out of...
Zytrate.
Zydrate.
Out
Yeah.
of corpses. And the police come because grave robbing is illegal. And
He's screaming.
yes,
And
and then the police, they are allowed to execute grave robbers on site.
Yeah.
They're about to execute Shiloh, but Rhodey is like, oh no, don't shoot her, because he recognizes her.
Yeah.
And then the Repo Man
Walks
shows up,
Yeah.
and they had knocked her out or something. I don't know, she'd passed out. Something happened.
Because
And
of her
he,
blood disease.
yeah, that.
Makes
And then
her
he takes her
sleepy.
home, and she wakes up, and he's like, oh, none of that happened. It was all a dream.
You left out the part where the grave robber picks up that body and he's hauling it around, and Shiloh's like, what are you doing? And he uses it as a battering ram to
Yes.
open a wall that had lots of bodies behind it.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yep. So after Shiloh goes to sleep, because her dad told her that everything was a lie, he goes in the basement and is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And
Repoing some organs.
yeah, he does that at his house. It's kind of weird. He brings them home and chops them up, and he's acting real crazy.
He's acting the appropriate amount of crazy for someone who goes and chases people and cuts their organs out.
I disagree. I feel like he should have compartmentalized it and said, well, they're not real people. So he could...
But they are real people.
But that would have been my coping mechanism. I would have been like, this isn't real.
But, okay. Well, that's not good.
Did you
'Cause they are real people.
Please tell the people who the man is. Again.
The Repo Man.
Who is he?
He's Giles from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Alexa Vegas from Spy Kids 1, 2, 3, and 4. I didn't see 5.
Nor did I. I didn't see
It has
4
smell-o-vision.
or 3. That's not a thing.
You had these little... I was working at the movie theater. You had these little cards, and they had different numbers on them, and when a number came on the screen, you're supposed to scratch and sniff it. So her dad goes crazy in the basement, and...
He's doing his job. He's a legal assassin. It gets very gory, by the way.
Pulling out them intestines.
I didn't care for that, personally. It also introduces Roddy's children, which he has 2 sons and a daughter who are all just... He doesn't like them. Nobody likes them. They're just not likable characters. So you are pretty much with Roddy and like, oh yeah, don't give your company to these people. So the oldest son is a murderer, and he looks to be about the same age as his father. The younger son is creepy, and he...
Steals faces.
Yeah.
And staples them onto his face.
Yes. And he looks like that's what he does. He looks like he
Yeah,
has
he looks
other people's
disgusting.
stapled skin on his face. And then the daughter really just wants to be a singer.
She's Paris Hilton.
Yes, the daughter's Paris Hilton, Amber Sweet. And she is addicted to surgery. You eventually find out...
You sound so exasperated.
I'm trying to figure out how I want to
Just formulate
word
this.
Yes. So Shiloh is really wanting to get out of her house and explore things. Eventually, so also within the storyline is Mag, who is...
Yeah, Blind Mag.
Yes. She basically is just a performer.
She's
She
a famous
sings
opera
for,
singer.
yeah, for Jinko. They own her because Jinko is the one who gave her eyes.
Yeah, and she's like their spokesperson. She's always like, you can have eyes like me. Look at this. This is great.
Yes.
But you don't know the sinister underbelly that if she stops working for them, then they get to repo her eyes.
Yes.
And they're not going to take them and leave her alive, obviously.
And throughout the course of the movie, you also find out the backstory of the Roddy, Mag, the Repo Man, and his now deceased wife, Marnie. Basically, Roddy at one point was dating Marnie up until she left him for Nathan, who is the Repo Man, and got sick, and he developed a cure. Nathan, the Repo Man, developed a cure for his wife. However, to get revenge, Roddy switched the cure with poison, and when Nathan thought he was giving his wife the cure, who was 9 months pregnant at the time, it ended up actually killing her. And then he had to do an emergency C-section on his dying dead wife.
He had to chop the baby
And
out.
he actually thought that he was the one who gave her the poison and killed her, and Roddy let him believe that. And round about the same time, he also gave Mag her new eyes so she could see, and only for her to discover that she was owned by Jinko now.
Yeah, and like Roddy used the his guilt, Nathan's guilt over killing his wife, to be like, well, now you have to be a repo man for me,
Yes.
or I will tell your child.
Yes.
Something. It was blackmail.
Yes.
Yep. So let's just sip on through this. So Roddy, after he sees Shiloh in the very beginning at the graveyard, he keeps an eye on her, and he like sends her a little Skype call on her little Apple Watch there, and says, "I want to meet you. I have a cure for you. Come meet me." So she sneaks out of the house while her dad's out chopping people up, and she gets in his limo, and he's takes her to the little street festival. It said like the second Italian Renaissance after the plague. I don't know why that detail was thrown in there. I wonder if this is really a comic book. But he takes her there, and she gets to meet Mags, and she finds out that Mags was her mother's best friend and is actually her godmother.
Well, she doesn't find out there, but Mag sees
yeah,
her
that's true.
there and is staring at her.
Those eyeballs.
Yes, those eyes. And then Mag comes to her house afterwards, after she sneaks back into her home. I was like, I'm your godmom.
Keeps projecting those images of Shiloh's mom singing at her
Yes.
to emotionally manipulate her to opening her door
Yes.
to a stranger. And then the dad comes in. He's like, Mags, why are you here?
Yes.
They sing like that, essentially, a lot. When they're not singing hardcore opera stuff. And so when Shiloh was actually gone meeting Mags or whatever, this is when she runs to the grave robber again. He gets her out of there and tries to take her back home, and she runs into the Zydrate heads in the alley or whatever, and they give her a magazine telling her that Mags is gonna lose her eyes in the gossip mag. So Shiloh takes that home and she reads it, and when her dad's trying to kick Mags out, she goes and grabs her magazine, and she's like, no, she's gonna lose her eyes, the Repo Man's gonna get her. And her dad's like, Repo Men aren't real, stop, go to sleep. And I think she passes out again or something, doesn't she? Or is that when she, no, that's when she has her My Chemical Romance breakdown, and she sings that song. 17.
That, as annoying as the siblings were, that was my absolute least favorite part of that movie. She was all like, 17 is sweeter than 16, and she was just an angsty 17-year-old singing a rock song, and I wanted that to be over.
I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was funny.
I-
I'm 17.
It was just so teenager angsty, and
Yeah.
it
Well, she
didn't
never
quite
had any
fit.
angst.
It didn't fit. I mean, she had a lot of angst, but it didn't, like, that song didn't fit with the overall
It wasn't.
goriness of the film, and I was just like, what's happening here?
And it wasn't really like rock. Like when Giles sings, he's like, yeah, like rock and roll. He's a good singer.
Yes.
He should be in Jesus Christ Superstar. It's very rock opera-y.
Yeah.
What I think of when Shiloh was singing it sounded like
An angsty teenager.
like Blink-182 or whoever those other people are. That's what it sounded. It didn't sound like rock and roll. It sounded like punk rock. By
Yes.
punk, I mean teens.
Yes.
Those punks on my lawn. And then her dad slaps her, and it knocks her back to her senses. And then I think she passes out again. She passes out a lot.
Yes. Because she has a blood disease.
I have a blood disease. And he just puts her back in the bed. And while she's passed out, she gets another message from Roddy? I don't know. Rotini Pasta. And he says,
Meet me at your mother's
Yeah.
grave, and I'll give you the cure or something.
yes, that's what he says. And her dad sees it, and he starts turning into Mr. Hyde. And Shiloh wakes up, and she's like, what's going on, Dad? And he's like, nothing, go back to sleep, which he says to her constantly. And so he leaves, and he's like pissed because he's like, you're trying to get my daughter now. I'm going to get you, because Roddy wanted the Repo Man to kill Megs to repo her eyes. And he wouldn't do it because that was his wife's best friend.
Mhm.
So then that's why he's so angry at Rotini. And he says he vows to go and kill him. And Shiloh, I guess, heard the message. So her dad leaves, and she climbs out a window and busts open her mom's, like, that, I don't know what it was, to grab that necklace. It was like, I don't know, a mannequin of her mom behind glass wearing like an outfit and a necklace. Did you notice that?
I may have briefly rested my eyes at that moment.
Because it's when Shiloh's in the car and they like zoom in on the cameo necklace she's wearing, and they zoom in on, like, in the house that glass is broken. I couldn't tell what that was in there. I thought it was a picture, but it can't be if she was wearing that necklace. I hope it wasn't her bones. The mom's bones dressed up. I really hope not. So Shiloh gets in the car, the limo, and there's a box there, and Rotini says that it's one of her mom's outfits, and he would be ever so happy if she wore it to the opera, which I think that's kind of creepy.
I don't know if we ever mentioned Rhodey. He doesn't want to leave Genco, his company, to any of his kids.
Yeah, because they're
So
crappy.
he's really looking to leave it to
Shiloh.
Marnie's daughter, Shiloh. But he's not just going to leave it to her, he's got to make sure she's worthy of it. So this is really what all this is about. So she goes to the opera. Is it Mags or Mag? Mag is singing.
Beautifully.
And then in some language, I guess Italian.
Italian.
And then she starts singing, "You're never gonna have my eyes, I'd rather die." And then she
Like
stabs
these
herself
eyes.
in the eye with these really long fingernails that she's wearing. And she's levitated up in the air on some strings. She's
not a witch.
she's up in the air
Yeah.
on a harness string thing.
Yeah.
And Rhodey is mad that she's poked her own eyes out, and he cuts the rope, and she falls onto the fence
Okay.
below
Why was it a real fence?
so that she could die when she fell on it, because that's what happened.
Those stage managers were too dedicated. Yeah, so she dies, and
Meanwhile, Shiloh's locked in a room.
Twins! I was going to
Yay.
say that.
She's locked in a room because Roddy was like, "Oh, there's a Genco employee that went crazy, and you've got to get him, and then I'll give you your cure. But you're trapped in here. But this is also a trap for him. So when he comes in, get him."
Get the getter. Trap the
Yes.
trapper.
Which the one who actually ends up coming in is the Repo Man, which is her father. So she hits him in the head. He takes his little mask off, and she's like, "Oh, it's you!" And then
I
they're
wish
like,
you were
"Lies,
dead."
lies!" Like, oh.
Yeah, she wished she was dead then, and then 10 minutes later, she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I love you." Just like a teenager.
So they have a fight, and she runs out, and she ends up going on stage, which, forgot to mention the part where Paris Hilton had her little performance. Paris Hilton had a weird surgery and lost her face, so she got new skin, and her face fell off during the performance.
She was high as a kite.
I hope so, because her face fell off.
Yeah, she just picked it up. She was just like, huh, okay.
And then walked off, yes.
Bye.
Anyway, so that happened before Mag came out and did her performance and died. So anyway, Shiloh runs back out onto the stage, and the Repo Man comes out about the same time.
Mm-hmm. And Rhodey's up there because he's trying to, like, he wants to be dramatic and go out really dramatic. So he's like, this is the perfect ending to this opera. You know, my kids aren't going to get this, Shiloh. I'm going to give you this gun, and you need to kill your dad.
Yep.
And I will leave my company to you. And Shiloh says, I need my medicine because I have a blood disease. And he says, no, you don't. And she passes out again, but she wakes up and everything's fine. And Rhodey's like, he's poisoned you. And her dad's like, I poisoned you. And she's like, you poisoned me.
Yes, because her whole life she didn't have a blood disease. Her dad's medication was poisoning her so that she would always stay with him.
That's emotional abuse. And why was it making her bald? Why did he have to do that? She's a cue ball. I don't understand why he made her bald.
just so everyone who hasn't seen this is aware, she is wearing a very realistic looking wig.
It does not look real at all. What are you talking about? It looked like it was from Party City.
It looks like an okay wig.
No.
I thought it looked okay.
It looked very wiggy.
Well, anyway, so it appears as if she has some hair throughout the movie, so it's just not just bald.
No, she's, and if you're
entire
bald,
movie.
it's fine. It's just, I don't know why her dad chose to make her bald and then give her this long black Morticia Adams wig to wear.
She even looked okay bald too, but it
She
was
did.
interesting.
Do you think she shaved her head?
I don't know. She pulled it off.
It didn't look like a bald cap. I was looking really hard to see if it was a bald cap. It didn't. She might have been really dedicated. So she doesn't shoot her dad, and Rhodey ends up snatching the gun from her and shooting the dad.
Yep, and then Rhodey dies of his terrible disease. And then her dad bleeds to death, but not before they have their I Love You song.
I love you so much.
Yes. And that's...
And Shiloh walks away because she's like, I get to choose my own destiny now. You can't tell me what to do, Dad.
Yes, so she walks out, and you end up finding out that Amber is the one who took over Genco. That weird grave robber guy.
I like him. He's my friend.
That's nice. What...
Scoff.
I guess he was just more of a narrator type.
Yeah, he was
person?
like the chorus, like the Greek
Okay.
chorus. He's like the narrator. Like in Rocky Horror, our favorite.
All right. Well, he had one final appearance that had no value.
He wrote the movie.
And that is great.
That's why he was there. He said, I will show up at the end.
Okay.
The
Well,
end.
that's the value that it had, and yes. And the weird brother then was wearing his sister's face that fell off.
What a creep.
The end.
That was gross. What was your favorite song?
I don't know that I have a favorite.
My favorite is Cidrate, because it sounds like a jingle kind of.
Yes.
Cidrate comes in a little glass vial. So it gets stuck in my head a lot when I'm just doing my random everyday life. I like that. And you said you hated Shiloh's 17. It's me, look at me.
Yep.
I'm a teen.
Hate's a strong word, but
You
it was my least favorite.
disliked it
It was my least
in
favorite.
comparison.
I may have said hate earlier, but I don't feel that way. I just really don't like it.
17,
Stop it.
No. It's having fun.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You can continue if you want to.
No, I'm done now.
Okay, what was your least favorite?
We don't usually do least favorites because I try
Oh.
not to be negative. But I just said that
Oops.
because you said you didn't like it. There's not one that I like the least. Well, the one that the brothers sing in the beginning.
Oh yeah, that was really bad too.
I didn't like that at all.
Well,
It's disgusting.
yeah.
The brother's like, I'll steal anybody's face because I'm so pretty. No, you're not.
And he had an accent, and I didn't
I
understand
think
why.
he was being a poser.
You think?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I didn't like
the brothers at all. I didn't understand why one had a weird accent.
He was
One
trying
was
to be
as
Italian.
old as his father.
That's true. You know, knifing people up makes you old.
Yeah.
He's a killer.
Is that what he is? Okay.
Yeah, I remember he told that person brought him a coffee and it was decaf and he was like, I'll shoot you in the face.
Yeah, and
So that's not so bad.
no, he was just weird, and yeah, I didn't like either of them. And Paris Hilton, or the sister Amber Sweet, just wanted to be a singer.
She's addicted to surgery.
Yes.
She's addicted to surgery medicine. That's what Michael Jackson was addicted to. Oh. Cedric's not real, but he's addicted to propofol, which is a surgery medicine.
So what are we gonna rate this out of?
Let's rate it off of faces that fell on the floor.
I will give it. Okay, so this is hard because I didn't necessarily like the gore of it, but I do think there was a lot of talent in it. It was well made. I really like Giles. So and overall I did enjoy it. So I'm gonna give it 3 faces out of 5.
I will do the same, actually. And it had kind of opposite to what we talked about with Rocky Horror. A lot of the people seemed to be cast based on their talent, and there was a couple, meaning 2 people who were cast, I think, just based on their fan base, which was Paris Hilton and Alexa Vega. Because Alexa Vega, I really like her. She's not a very strong singer, though. And Paris Hilton has a record deal right now. I think she signed to Young Money.
Oh, really?
Just Lil Wayne's record label. And she had that song in like 2005. Do you remember that?
No.
Probably not. But yeah, she's not a very strong singer, but I think this was around the time when she was trying to...
But for her role, I thought it was appropriate.
Yeah.
Like, I think she did a pretty good job in that role, actually.
That's true.
Because her character wasn't supposed to be a strong singer because she was failing at it.
Okay, I take it back. I mean, Alexa Vega is my fave, and that's why I watched this movie, but she's not a very strong singer. And when she's singing with other really strong singers, like Giles is really strong, it just wasn't as good. And Sarah Brightman's in it. Who's Christine?
And the Phantom of the Opera.
Christine Daae? What's her last
Daae. No, hang on. Yes.
name? Haha!
Yes.
Haha. Yeah, so it had a good casting.
Christine.
Is that a song?
Christine.
I don't know that song.
Where in the world have you been hiding? Really, you were perfect. Yes.
That's Angel of Music?
Yes. That's leading into it.
That's
when
by Sarah Brightman.
That's when Meg was looking for Christine after the performance.
There's a Meg in that.
Yes.
Shocking.
Yes. There's a Meg, not a Mag.
Oh, I forgot what her name was already. Okay, sounds good. Hey, kids listening on your devices.
Yeah.
Sleep tight and be good. We love you. Tuck you in at night.
Good night.
Sleep tight.
Say that you once bought a heart or new corneas, but somehow never managed to square away your debts. He won't bother to write or to phone you. He'll just rip the still beating heart from your chest.
Bye, everybody.
Farewell.
Bye.
Goodbye.
On Dada C.
Bye. Goodbye. Bye.
Bye.